Alright, we're going to make a stir fry, a paleo stir fry. A bunch of different veg. Most of this is from my CSA. Some of it's from the local organic store. I find a good stir fry, the backbone is going to be some kind of cabbage. One of my favorites is bok choy. I've already stripped this one down and used most of it in another stir fry earlier this week. That's from a local farmer on my CSA. I'm going to use the rest of it this time. One of my other favorites is a Savoy cabbage. Regular cabbage, you know, they tell you to get the green stuff, and Savoy cabbage is really green right through to the core. Regular cabbage is not as much green on it. I don't find it necessarily any more flavorful, but I know that because it's got so much green that it's better for me. I got a couple of turnips that I just got to use up here, small ones. A bunch of garlic scapes. These are the tops off the garlics. A couple of decades ago they used to cut these off and throw them out. And now, like this, they cut them off to let the growth of the garlic go into the bulb. But now you cut them off and save them and chop them up. You just chop those up real fine and fry them up with your onions at the beginning of your fry. Onions, I've got one green onion left over, and I'm going to use this sweet onion, and I'm going to throw a couple of carrots in there, slice them up. This isn't what I do every time. There's lots of other different things that go in there. Cabbage is the backbone, as I said, some type of cabbage. I like to have carrots in there. There's all kinds of other stuff, and I'll make more videos to show you other things that I put in my paleo stir fries. So let's chop this up and see what it looks like. And of course beef. I've got some pastured over there. I'll show it to you. I've got some local pastured beef that's going in there too. Alright, so I got the onions and garlic cut up. Garlic scapes, the 2 onions. Next decision, what are you going to use for oil? I switch back and forth, butter, whatever. I'm going to use some olive oil right now, just to get those going. My pastured beef isn't very fatty, so you do need a fair bit of oil to fry your other stuff in. So, good old olive oil. The pan should be preheated by now. Although I didn't hear a lot of sizzle there. Let's see. Good way to test your pan. No, it's not preheated. I'll give it another couple minutes and then we'll try again. Alright, let's try that again. That over there, by the way, is my beef thawing out. I thaw my beef in a thing of hot water. It's frozen with a Ziploc bag around it. Anyway, so there's all my onions and garlic scapes. You should get some sizzle when you put it in the pan. There you go. That's what I was looking for. So now I'm just going to leave that. It's on about 1/3 heat. Standard onions and garlic procedure. I'll just leave that, give it the odd stir while I'm chopping the rest of the veg over here. So if you never cooked garlic scapes before, you should know they're extremely woody. That's why they used to throw them away. And they got to be cooked really long. So I think those are probably going to be okay. If you don't cook them really long, they'll be woody. Still a bit woody, but that'll cook. So for me, the next step is always the beef. You get your onions cooked, and sorry for reaching over there, taking my beef out of the thaw over here. Whoops. Beautiful grass pastured beef. I always do the beef next to make sure it's fully cooked. I don't want to take any chances. We do the beef, get her fully cooked up in there, and then we start adding the veg according to what veg needs to cook longer. You can see I have it separated. I've got the carrots and the turnip back there in one bowl. It's got to go in first, and then all the cabbage here in this other bowl, and it's the last thing to go in, with my spicing, of course. So when the beef's about halfway done, I start to season it. I always got some good amount of salt in there. That might be a tablespoon, I don't know. And I know people talk about not pre-grinding your pepper. I pre-grind my pepper for 2 weeks at a time maybe. I do it in a pestle and mortar, and I find it really doesn't lose anything over 2 weeks. So I'm getting to the end of my 2 weeks here. I'm mainly a salt and pepper guy. I also do a lot of rosemary. I'll grind up dried rosemary in a pestle and mortar. I'm not going to do that this time. Whatever spicing works for you. Just go with what you like. Another thing I like is I have these peppers. They're smoked peppers. They come dried out like this. I put those into one of those spice mills or a coffee grinder, the blade grinder, and I grind it up into a powder. I do about a month's worth at a time, and I really love this stuff. It's kind of a, not quite a jalapeno in strength, but it's smoky character to it. You don't want to put too much in there. And that's pretty much good for me. I'll taste it after the beef is fully cooked and see if it needs more salt and pepper. And I'll show you when I start adding more stuff. Yeah, the thing I wanted to add about the salt and pepper, really, when you're using good ingredients, I like to keep it simple. This beef is amazing flavor to it. I don't want to kill the flavor of that beef. I really want that beef to be the star of this recipe. So a bit of salt, a bit of pepper, a little bit of hot pepper just to give it a little bit of zip. But I want the beef to be the star. And even all these veg, these are mostly local organic. The ones that aren't local organic are really high quality organic vegetables. And I don't want to drown those out. I want them to be the stars. I want to taste what I'm eating here. Keep the spicing to a minimum is my personal philosophy. If that's not yours, then spice it the way you want it. Oh, one thing I forgot actually. Normally when I add the beef, I turn it up to about just under half heat. I got it on about a 40% there right now. And I forgot to do that. I was just noting to myself that it wasn't cooking as fast as it normally does, and that's why, because I forgot to turn it up just a little bit when I add the beef. Alright, I tasted it. The salt and pepper is good. A little bit too much salt, but don't panic. The veg is going to suck out quite a bit of salt, so it won't be salty in the end. Like I said, I normally have a couple of dishes, depending on what I'm putting in there, that get added according to how long they've got to be cooked. The root vegetables usually go in first, so there's my root veg. Cabbage requires a fair bit of cooking too, but I can always put in at the end. If you have something you don't know how long it takes, don't panic. Even if you overcook it, you're not going to wreck it. It's still going to taste awesome, and you just make notes and correct the problem next time you do it. That's all you got to do. So I'm going to give this a good fry for another 5 minutes or so. Then I'm going to add my cabbage. So the roots are still not quite fully cooked. Whoops, I'll eat that. But that's okay, because what I do next when you add your cabbage, I put it on top and leave it sit before I mix it in. And that traps the heat in for the veg underneath and everything underneath, and lets it cook. It's like having a lid on your pot, basically. You could just put a lid on it, I guess, if you wanted to, but I just kind of do it this way. Leave that cook like that for 5 minutes or so. It'll also steam that cabbage some to make it a little bit easier to manipulate. And I forgot to mention, after the beef is fully cooked, I turn it back down. I turn the stove back down to like 1/3 heat. So it's on 1/3 heat right now. And I just put that on there. It acts like a lid. It'll steam that cabbage. Give it 5 minutes, maybe even 10. Make sure the heat's not too high to burn that stuff that's on the bottom though. And that's it. We'll see in a few minutes. So it's had a good little cook there. Now you can see it's really full. This is a bit precarious. You might want a bigger pan. Or sometimes, if I'm doing this, will feed me for 2 days for lunches. If I want to do a double batch, I'll do it in a big Dutch oven instead of this. I flip it that way. Roll it over. Give it all a good turn over and then let it cook again for another 5 minutes or so. This is really, really good. I eat it quite a lot. I'll show you another one. I'll make another video of the stuff I do in the oven. But this has so many variations, all different kinds of veg. You base it on basically beef, onions, garlic, and some kind of cabbage. You want green cabbage, nice good green color. And then you can have carrots, you can have those edible pod peas, you can have Swiss chard, you can have just about anything goes in there. And it all makes for a slightly different meal. And it's all extremely yummy. Give it a good stir and then let it sit for another 5 minutes or so. Do it again. So I'm just giving it the final stir. Taste all the different veg and see, like there's a good thick piece of cabbage. That's still pretty crunchy actually. That's okay. I don't mind, excuse me, I don't mind having a meal where there's a few pieces of cabbage in it that are really crunchy like that. That actually gives it some texture, makes you do a little bit of work, and makes it a little more interesting. Pretty much everything else, like there's a thinner piece of cabbage. That's pretty tender, that's good. Carrots are all done. The salt is out of it. Like I said, it was over salted until I added all the veg. And now it's just about right. It's doing pretty good. Remember, this basic recipe has endless variations. There's all kinds of cabbage out there, different kinds. You can buy a coleslaw mix. If you're in a hurry, you don't want to chop it all up. It's even usually got grated carrots in there. Good 2 meals right here. Good big 2 meals. Endless variations. I never get sick of it. I can eat this. I do eat this all week long for lunch, and I never get tired of it. Just all the different variations, and I'll start making videos with different variations. Package it up, put it in the fridge. Bob's your uncle.